Reporting from Arkham Asylum, this is Gotham Rogues. In this video we take a look at forgotten Batman villain, Professor Radium. Before we continue with the regularly scheduled programming, here's a short message. My Patreon page features the exclusive series One Shot Bat Rogues, and the latest episode, recently uploaded, tells the tale of the Gold Coin Killer. It is figured in a supernatural serial killer who murders homeless people out of so-called mercy. In case you're interested in checking that out, I've included a link to my Patreon in the description. And now back to the regular program. Throughout his near 80-year-old existence, Batman has faced countless enemies. Some of these have gone on to stand among the most infamous fictional villains in pop culture history, while others have completely vanished into obscurity. In this segment of Forgotten Bat Rogues, we spotlight Professor Radium. Henry Ross, aka Professor Radium, was introduced in Batman number 8, published in 1941. The story called The Strange Case of Professor Radium was written by Bill Finger and penciled by Bob Kane. In it, we meet Henry Ross, an eccentric scientist who's created a radium formula capable of reanimating dead tissue. The professor's goal is to help mankind by defeating its greatest enemy, mortality. First, he tries the formula on a dead dog, and hours later, the dog is up and about once again. Thus, the experiment is a success. For the next step, Ross decides to use himself, so he commits suicide, but not before instructing a colleague of his to resurrect him using the formula. This also turns out to be a success, but not without its side effects. The formula has made the professor highly radioactive, causing him to kill anyone he touches. Realizing the danger, Ross builds a special protective suit that keeps his lethal rays from affecting the surrounding world. In order to cure himself of this horrifying condition, Henry needs a chemical called Volitil. The drug is very expensive, however, making it impossible for the professor to acquire it through legal means. Thus, he decides to break into hospitals and steal their supplies of Volitil. This crime spree naturally attracts the attention of Batman and Robin, and not knowing better, the dynamic duo engage Ross in combat, who's by now been named Professor Radium by the media. Meanwhile, the radium formula has begun to affect Henry's mind, causing him to slowly grow madder and madder. After this story, Professor Radium completely vanished from the comic books, and he didn't make a single appearance for over 60 years. It was a 2006 miniseries, Battle for Bloodhaven, that finally brought him back. In this series, Radium is featured as a member of the Nuclear Legion, a subgroup of the Secret Society of Supervillains. The Legion is sent to Bloodhaven after the city had been annihilated by Chemo during Infinite Crisis. This version of Ross seems similar enough to the original, but he displays no real personality, nor has he that large of a presence in the story. No explanation for his extremely long absence is ever given either. Besides these two storylines, Professor Radium has appeared in absolutely nothing, not in comics nor in any other media. So yeah, this is a really obscure one. I myself was only very vaguely familiar with him. I hadn't read his Golden Age story before making this video, and I went into the project expecting the character to be a flat, stereotypical evil supervillain who robbed banks or something. Boy, was I pleasantly surprised. Professor Radium is actually a very compelling and tragic rogue who barely even is a villain. He's a guy who wanted to save mankind. That's the reason he creates the formula, not for himself, but for his fellow man. Then everything goes wrong, and what does he do? Use his powers to take over the underworld? No, he just tries to find a way to cure himself. Ross was also considerate enough to wear that suit, which protects people from him. Batman and Robin are kind of the villains here in a way, as they butt in and prevent the professor from attaining the Volitil. Sure, he was technically committing crimes by stealing the drug, but what's worse, some Volitil missing in a few hospitals, or a radioactive man walking the streets of Gotham, killing anything that comes near him. I often say that Golden Age villains are uninteresting in one note, and they usually are, but Professor Radium is one of the exceptions. He was a very tragic and sympathetic character, and I can't for the life of me understand why he wasn't used again. Being written as well as he was, Ross could easily have become a mainstay in the Rogues Gallery. So there you have it. That's the story of forgotten Batman villain, Professor Radium. A great rogue in the same vein as other sad freaks, like Mr. Freeze and Two-Face. Why the writers never bothered to bring him back, except for a small role in a big event, over 6 decades later, is truly the ultimate riddle. As always, remember, Arkham Asylum awaits you in the next video.